Hi guys, and welcome to Friday. And Friday is Dark Archives Day. Now today we are saying the story that was sent to me, and we're going to just name a client Emily. Okay, so have you ever walked into a place and instantly knew that you were not alone? Many times we walk into places and we get chills and our hair stands up and we know that there's something funny going on there. Not because you saw something standing in front of you, not because you heard chains dragging across the floor or a door slammed shut, even when there was nobody there. It was just because every part of your body physically reacted like it knew that you were not there by yourself. So today's story is one that has stayed with me for a very long time because it reminds us that not every spirit is frightening and not every haunting is what Hollywood wants us to believe. Every time we see a movie, every time we see something about hauntings and spirits, the ghosts are always demonic and dark and dingy, and it's like it's not always like that. Take it from someone who does mediumship work. A lot of them, most of them, are not like that at all. Now, this happened to a woman that we're calling Emily. Her name is not Emily, but that's the name we're using. Now, Emily had recently gone through a divorce. She wasn't looking for anything paranormal. Honestly, she was exhausted. She had sold her home, packed up nearly 20 years of memories, and rented a small farmhouse outside of town while she figured out what came next. Now, the house was old, not the cute and kind, old perfect with wood floors and charming windows. The kind of old where every board creaked, okay? The kind where the wallpaper had started peeling away. The kind where the wind found every crack in the walls. Everyone warned her about the place. Oh, that house is haunted. But she would laugh it off, right? She didn't believe in ghosts at the time. So the first week was completely normal. Then little things began happening. Every night around 2:30 in the morning, she would wake up, not because of a noise, not because of a nightmare. She would simply open her eyes as though someone had gently whispered her name. She would look around and there was nothing. Eventually, she'd fall back asleep. After about 2 weeks, she started noticing something stronger, right? Now, the rocking chair in the front porch would be moving every morning. Now, yes, wind was present, right? So she tested it. She tied a rope around the chair. Now, the next morning, the chair was rocking again. The rope was still tied. She untied it, convinced she'd imagined things. Then the lights began flickering. One lamp, always the same lamp. Okay, so what did she do? Emily went to replace the bulb, what all of us would have done, but it flickered. So she bought a new lamp. But guess what? That new lamp flickered too. Now, an electrician checked the wiring because she called and usually in situations like this, we're debunking everything. So we're like, well, it has to be the wiring. It is an old house. So the electrician came. Checked everything and literally said there was nothing wrong. Now, at this point, she still wasn't convinced the house was actually haunted, right? Now, she figured out old houses simply have personalities. Now, one rainy afternoon, she decided to clean out the attic. She climbed the narrow wooden stairs carrying nothing more than a flashlight and a trash bag. Now, the attic smelled like cedar, dust, and old papers. There were boxes stacked up everywhere, suitcases, broken picture frames, an old sewing machine. Near one wall, she found a tiny child's shoe, just one, and it was covered with dust. Next to it was a faded photograph. An elderly woman sitting in that exact rocking chair on the porch. Now, behind the photo, someone had written, "My favorite place to wait for everyone to come home." Now, Emily smiled. She tucked the photograph away where she'd found it. That night, she slept better than she had in weeks, until 2:30 in the morning. Now her eyes opened again. This time she heard something, three slow creaks, as though someone was gently rocking back and forth. So she froze. The sound wasn't upstairs. It wasn't outside. It was coming from downstairs, from the living room. Every horror movie she'd ever seen flashed through her head, of course. All right. Now she grabbed her phone, turn on the flashlight, walk down the hallway, and guess what? Nothing. The living room was empty, but the rocking chair she had brought inside, because it was raining, was moving back and forth slowly. Okay, so she stood there staring at it for what felt like forever. Then it stopped and she wanted to leave. Instead, she whispered, "If someone is here, I'm not here to bother you." Okay, now the house became completely quiet. From that night, something changed. The uneasy feeling began to disappear. The 2:30 wake-up calls stopped. She actually began enjoying living there. Now, months had passed, and one afternoon, an elderly neighbor stopped by carrying homemade bread. While chatting, Emily casually mentioned the photograph she found in the attic. Now, the neighbor's face instantly changed. "Oh, you found Martha." Now, she explained that Martha had lived there for nearly 60 years. She was known for sitting in her rocking chair every evening, waiting for her husband to come home from work. After he passed away, she still sat there, waiting for her children, then her grandchildren. Neighbors would wave as they drove by. She rarely missed an evening. Now, when Martha died in her sleep, the rocking chair remained on the porch for years. No one wanted to move it because somehow it felt wrong. Now, Emily asked quietly, did she ever wake up during the night? Now, the neighbor laughed. Every night at 2:30, she would bake bread. Okay. Yeah, take a moment to soak that in. Now, Emily felt every hair on her arm stood up, just like you and me just did, right? There was an exact time that she'd been waking, not 2:20, not 3, always 2:30 on the dot. The neighbors continue. She always said she couldn't sleep because she wanted to make sure everyone was taken care of before sunrise. Now, Emily never told the neighbor what was happening, right? She simply nodded, because if you were to tell your neighbor that, there's always a fear that they're going to think that you're crazy, right? Now, over the next year, strange little things continued. Whenever she cried, the lamp would softly flicker once, right? Whenever she forgot to lock the back door, she suddenly remembered for no reason at all. If she lost her keys, they'd somehow end up sitting on the kitchen table, exactly where she'd already looked 3 times before. Now, she stopped feeling afraid. Instead, she found herself saying, "Thank you." Now, one winter evening, the power went out during an ice storm. No electricity, no phone signal, nothing. She lit candles and wrapped herself in blankets. Now, the house felt different, heavy, not frightening though, right? She said it just felt like it was waiting. Then she smelled fresh bread, not faintly, but strongly. Warm bread straight from the oven. She searched the entire house, and of course, there was nothing. The oven was cold. No candles nearby smelled like bread. The scent lasted maybe 30 seconds. Then the scent disappeared. Now, the next morning, she called the neighbor. Without mentioning anything, she simply asked, "What kind of bread did Martha always bake?" Now, the neighbor answered immediately. It was cinnamon bread. Now, you could smell it halfway down the road. Emily never forgot that. Years later, she finally moved away. Before leaving, she walked into the porch. She sat in the rocking chair. She closed her eyes and simply said, "I hope your family knows how much you love them." A gentle breeze moved through the trees. The chair rocked once, just once, not because she pushed it, not because the wind was particularly strong, just one slow movement. She smiled, locked the front door, and never saw the house again. Now, do I know for certain that Martha's spirit remained there? No, this is just as told to me by my client. None of us can say with certainty, but after hearing hundreds of stories over years, one thing becomes very clear, right? Not every spirit arrives to frighten us. Some remain because love leaves an imprint, right? Love leaves an intelligence energy. If you guys ever hear me talk, I always say love is the highest vibration of all, right? Now, some places hold memories so deeply that they almost become alive. So whether you believe these moments are spirits, residual energy, or something science simply hasn't explained yet, the experience is real for the people who live it. Now, one thing I always tell people is this, right? Fear is not the first thing you should reach for when something unexplained happens. Discernment will always be. Observe, listen, notice how you feel. A truly peaceful presence feels very different from something that drains you. Your intuition usually knows before your mind catches up. So I'd love to know, have you guys ever experienced something that you still can't explain? Maybe it was the smell of someone's perfume after they pass, a dream that felt more real than, walking life, footsteps in an empty hallway, a loved one visiting one last time, or perhaps you lived in a house where something simply felt different, right? So if you're comfortable sharing, leave your story below. You could email me at lightwitchtarotshop@gmail.com, right? And some of the most unbelievable ghost stories don't come from books. Some of the greatest stories I've read come from you guys, come from my clients, come from people that email me these stories. Now they come from ordinary people living ordinary lives, right? And sometimes those are the stories that stay with us the longest, so if you've ever experienced anything, feel free to share it. And if you're watching this on the free trial, make sure that you sign up for our Black Archives. It happens every Friday, right? And I hope you enjoy it. Sweet dreams, and see you next week. Bye.